Hello everyone to another edition of Rapid Fire Reviews. So of course I like to do these when I get a little behind on my movie watching for the year, and I'm a little behind on my movie watching for the year. So I take four films that I either missed when they were in their theatrical release or more straight to streaming movies, and just give my general synopsis of the film, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and an overall score. Just short, sweet, and simple reviews. So the four films I have today are Blackberry, Flamin' Hot, The Wrath of Becky, and Kandahar. So yes, without further ado, let me get into this edition of Rapid Fire Reviews. So the first film I have is Blackberry. This one is rated R. It's 2 hours long, directed by Matt Johnson, and it stars Jay Baruchel. So of course, this is the story of the meteoric rise and catastrophic demise of the world's first smartphone, which is known as the Blackberry. So based off of true story of the guys who made the Blackberry phone and how they marketed it to the world. And holy moly, there's lots of information in this movie that I had no idea that Blackberry was a part of, that I thought was done extremely well and showcased very, very well. There's so many things done right about this movie, but it's one of the biggest things that I can applaud it for right off the bat is how amazingly acted it is, especially from Jay Baruchel. Just seeing his character and against his performance just absolutely transformed throughout the entirety of this movie was something absolutely spectacular. I found it made really good use of the times and the music that it played. The way that it was directed and stylized and felt so true to the times was something, again, to just extremely exciting, and having all these personalities clash with one another was absolutely great. Really one of the only things that I wish they did is showed a little bit more of these side characters, and again to all these people that they brought in from different companies and how that really affected and changed the world in a lot of ways. I found too that, I mean, it is based off a true story, but near the end it just got a little ridiculous around how people didn't realize this company was committing the crimes that they did or committing the fraud that they did a lot sooner. And it was just, at times it felt like these red flags were just way too in your face to be almost unbelievable at times. But again, too, it's based off of a true story. So again, too, I found they had a really, really, really good way of hashing out some amazing directing, and easily the best of the kind of company movies that have come out this year. I did really, really enjoy Air, but Blackberry definitely takes the cake within it. And really, with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Again, highly recommend this one. Amazing performances, amazingly directed, amazing tension, great pacing, and yeah, just absolutely fantastically done movie that I just felt like it failed to stick the landing in a lot of ways, but just very, very well done. Next on the list is another kind of corporate done movie, which is Flamin' Hot. You'll find this one on Disney Plus. It's PG-13 rate, or sorry, comes in at an hour and 40 minutes long. And the IMDb synopsis of this is that this is the inspiring true story of Richard Montanez, who, as a Frito-Lay janitor, disrupted the food industry by channeling his Mexican heritage to turn Flamin' Hot Cheetos from a snack into an iconic global pop culture phenomenon. So I've seen a lot of things about this movie not being true to the history that actually happened. It's based off of, again, to a biography that was written about this person that has been debunked a lot of times, and he is not actually the creator of the Flamin' Hot Cheeto. So again, too, just taking this movie as it is, it's directed by Eva Longoria, but taking this movie as it is a very by the numbers, very predictable, and very simple story about, again, to not giving up on yourself, not giving up on your dreams, and not giving up on, again, too, what you know your talents are, and rising through the corporate ranks. One of my main problems about this movie is it felt more like a corporate made employee motivational video about how every single employee here can make a difference, and again to not giving up on the Pepsi Cola dream or Pepsi Cola standard of pushing things to the best. It felt very, again, to just something your work sends you as a motivational video that you don't really pay attention to as you're going through. I just didn't feel how like corporately made this movie felt in a lot of ways and was in a lot of ways. Again, too, it is an inspiring story that, again, too, is just very by the numbers. It has some funny moments within it, some moments that are just ridiculous, and again, too, just felt too campy, too cheesy a lot of the times. Not saying that it's bad anyway. I still had a lot of fun watching it. I like the characters. It did make me want to buy a bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's back into just very simple, very by the numbers, and with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10. Again, too, a lot of it just felt very, very tacked on in a corporate way that off put me in a lot of ways. But there is a lot of good things about this movie, and it's a really good, heartfelt, feel good movie in a lot of ways. So again, too, if you can ignore that the history is wrong within this and just take it as a movie as it is, it's pretty decent for the most part. So the next film I have is The Wrath of Becky. This is a direct sequel to Becky, which starred Kevin James, and again too, it takes place a couple years after the events of that movie, after escaping a violent attack by neo-Nazis. So now Becky must defend herself against a brand new terrorist cell, and this one is rated R, of course, comes in at an hour and 24 minutes long. And of course, Lulu Wilson is back as the titular character, Becky. It also has Sean William Scott as the main antagonist within this movie. And so there isn't really a whole lot to say that this movie is just an absolutely ridiculous teenage girl versus, again, to just very bad sell of very shitty people. Very by the numbers as the first movie did, where suffers a loss and exacts her plan of revenge. I found too that this one had some very uninspired kills in a lot of ways and felt very, very low budget. So low budget that they tried to almost pull a Deadpool where they make fun of the fact that they don't have a budget and hint at these scenes to also be like, oh, yeah, I wish I actually did this, but this is what I did instead. And it's a very generic way to kill people. Very, again, to just disappointing in its execution in a lot of ways that leads to a again to what I found a very, very disappointing finale, a very, very disappointing showdown, and just a very over the top and this would never happen in real life sort of thing, kind of after credit scene that they do. So again too, I do think I enjoyed the first one a lot more because I wasn't really expecting where it would go, whereas in this one you were able to tell the signs of it was just going to play out in the same way as a lot of things, but just a very dialed down, dumbed down version of it. So there were a few jokes that I found were absolutely hilarious and line deliveries that I thought were very, very funny. There's one barn scene within this that's just really made me laugh in a lot of ways, of one of the, again, to people of the cell begging for their life and then just absolutely blowing it with one of the stupidest answers you could give. Little things like that that still made this very quirky, very funny, but really with everything taken together. I was enjoying this when it started out. It starts out, it gets into it pretty decently quick, but then slows down, picks up a little bit, but then just slowly goes downhill the further and further and further on it goes. I'm gonna have to give The Wrath of Becky a 5.5 out of 10. I can't really recommend it to too many people, but if you've seen the first one, I still think it's worth a watch to continue on with the character. If you just want to see, again, to horrible people get murdered horribly, this is a movie right up your alley. And now the last film I have is Kandahar. This one comes in at about 2 hours long, rated R, stars Gerard Butler, and the IMDb synopsis for this one is a CIA operative and his translator flee from special forces in Afghanistan after exposing a covert mission. So again, to vary by the numbers, American trying to escape a foreign country. Well, you have multiple cells of organizations and basically a civil war that's going on, all trying to kill him as he's trying to escape the country after, again, to being involved in a mission that further destabilizes the region. Again, it's very, very simple and very, very predictable how this one's going to turn out, but it did have a lot better dialogue about to geopolitics, social politics, commentary about US, again, to just colonization and stripping resources and them manipulating foreign powers and just how terrible that is from a lot of different perspectives, again, too, from the agents directly involved in it, from the citizens involved in it, from the Taliban's perspective, from again, to government officials' perspective within the region, journalists' perspective within the region. There's a lot that this movie does, and it tries to do two characters, but really undershadows one of them. That just leads to a very, very generic, and I found very, very untrue and unrealistic, close to her story within the movie, and then Gerard Butler's um again too very very predictable and very very again too, it just felt way too lighthearted near the end and not serious enough for it to really make my recommendation in a lot of ways. There's a lot of moments in too where I found this movie was extremely well directed, especially when it would start the action sequences, but then I found it just got way too cutty, camera angles changing all the time, shot zoomed in, or just pans that just were kind of out of nowhere compared to the rest of the directing in this movie that felt super out of place. I know I'm not really doing a lot of favors here to garner my rating of giving Kandahar a 6 out of 10, but again, too, I still think it's a decent watch if you like these kinds of, again, too, thrilling, intense films. I definitely don't think it's up there with a lot of ones that you can probably think of off the top of your head, but it's alright for the most point. It's not something I would ever sink my teeth into again or think I need to watch it again, but yeah, there's just a lot of dumb mistakes that I found they made Gerard Butler's character make that just didn't feel right in a lot of ways. That you see him be absolutely flawless in his execution of other things that he's doing that's against you. Just little story mistakes, little wrinkles that really took away from this movie as it kept going on and on and on, pacing on and on and on. So again, to just very generic for me to give it anything higher, even though I would have loved to, again, just see this movie thrive in a lot of ways. So if you've seen any of these four movies, please let me know what you thought about them in the comments down below. And of course, if you like these edition of Rapid Fire Reviews, definitely give it a thumbs up and you check out everything I do on the channel through the playlist down below, and I'll link them up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing, turn that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos, and yeah, just awesome, guys.